What's going on? It's your boy Joe 692 coming to you guys a video right now. So I want to go over Howie Roseman. He was on the Sports Talk Radio Show 94 WIP this morning, and he talked about a lot of things. He talked about this team, how it's looked from free agency to the draft, and now kind of just sitting back and kind of improving the team in any way possible. He went over a few players. He talked about the Carson Wentz extension. So the first thing I want to talk about is this team going to 2019. Howie Roseman thinks he's done a pretty good job, and with the offensive line, defensive line, his team is getting stronger by the day. And there was a few players that he did talk about. Now, he talked about Deshaun Jackson saying that he needed time to mature. He needed that time. He has a wife. He has kids. He's glad Howie Roseman is very happy and thankful that Deshaun Jackson is back where he belongs on the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's, having a D threat and his skill set, what he can do is very exciting. So that's what Howie Roseman said about Deshaun Jackson. He talked about Chris Long, pretty much said, me and Chris Long are in private discussions about what's going on because we all know as fans that Chris Long is probably not coming back, but private discussions are between Howie Roseman and Chris Long right now. So that's with Chris Long. Then he talked about Joe Osman, defensive end, undrafted, is going on his second year. As a rookie, he sat on the sidelines. He thinks that he could bring a good effect to this defensive end position. I don't know. It's kind of a random name to me, but he was very talking highly on Joe Osman, sitting on the sideline for a year and then coming back and, seeing if he can, produce. And they think he's a pretty good player, that he has a shot at being a very good player in the league. So I think it's just as a rotational guy. I don't think he'll ever be a starter in this league. But Joe Osman, I don't know if the Eagles are going to really put all their marbles into one basket and really put everything into him being on taking up a roster spot and seeing how he does. Howie Roseman was asked about winning, and winning in this league and how important it is and how you build a team and how hard is it from a GM point of view on how to win. Howie Roseman came up and pretty much said, I have an affection for winning. That's the only thing I have an affection for. He wants to win a championship. We have a hungry GM that has been hungry since 2017 and won a Super Bowl in 2017. And Howie Roseman is I love when I could listen to Howie Roseman all day. I know he uses those PR words and kind of makes everything very professional, but when he was on the radio show, he actually sounded really like himself and just discussing things. But winning a championship is number one for Philadelphia. Getting a second ring on our finger and building a team, getting ready for the Carson Wentz extension, which I'll talk about in a second, and getting this team ready for this year, and that's what's important, and the winning aspect of it, building that roster, that's his job, and he thinks that this team he loves the personalities, he loves the locker room, he's building something very nice here, the culture is built here. So, he's really happy about what he's done so far, and I think we should all be very thankful to have a GM like Howie Roseman. Now, the Carson Wentz extension. Now, Howie said a few things about Carson Wentz, and he's very high on Carson Wentz, okay? So, quote unquote, he said, in his own words, the Eagles are planning to do a long-term deal with Carson Wentz, and if the deal was right, we wouldn't hesitate. Now, I think what that means is that they're looking for the right deal. I have a feeling that they are still talking to Carson. I know they gave Carson Wentz that fifth-year option, which they did just in case. But what they're going to do is they've probably been battling with Carson Wentz's agent. Because if you remember from the Carson Wentz press conference, he's like, just talk, that's up to my agent. I'm not in that whole conversation about how much I'm getting paid. It's all with my agent. So this agent that Carson Wentz has been probably battling with the Eagles for some time about this contract and what's going on. Like they said, if the deal is right, they won't hesitate, which means they haven't reached a deal yet for Carson Wentz. Now, is it going to be $30 a year? I don't know. Is it going to be lower than that? I have no idea. But I think the Eagles are being smart. They're going to wait it out, and Carson Wentz has to prove himself. He has to go out there and do his thing. Other words that Howie Roseman said, I have so much faith in Carson Wentz. This guy is going to be a great player for the Philadelphia Eagles for a long time. I could say the exact same thing. At 100% health, Carson Wentz is going to be one of the most complete quarterbacks that have been so ready for the NFL, and the guy has strived for so much, and it really did so much his second year here. His first year, there was no weapons around. We had no receivers, no one that could even catch a football, no high-priced running backs. We didn't really have anybody. And then all of a sudden, like 2017 rolled around, guy has weapons, the guy has a lot around him, and he could show off some of his mobility skills, get off, pass the ball, and do some really cool things. And then 18, and then at the end of 17, having the torn LCL, ACL injury, and then kind of not being ready to play in 2018, and he wasn't ready. If Howie Roseman has high praise for Carson Wentz, I've already had high praise for Carson Wentz, and everyone else is shutting this up. I hope you guys are kind of with me on the train here, because don't be switching gears if Carson Wentz is playing like shit. There's going to be days where he plays bad. I'm not saying he should play totally bad, but he might be off a little bit. We have a run game. We have a deep threat now. It's a lot more into focus. The running backs are more into focus now because we actually have some backs now. And Jordan Howard, Miles Sanders, and, you have Corey Clement. You have Wendell Smallwood. But, Howie Roseman has a lot of praise that, he thinks Carson Wentz could be that future quarterback for Philadelphia for years to come and win multiple fucking Super Bowls, and I'm all with it. I'm all for it. And that's really it. So that's pretty much all that was said this morning. They're probably, he discussed a few players and something like that, but like I just said before. But overall, it was pretty damn good. I'm glad, I was reading some nice things about, Howard Roseman. Just thinking about the team after the draft, after free agency, how this team is I'm really happy about how this team has developed. I'm very happy about it. So that's really it. I kind of did this video on the fly, guys. I just wanted to kind of just go through. I wrote some things down. I wrote some quotes down and caught some on Twitter as well. So that's pretty much what was said. So that's it. Let me know in the comments section below what you guys think about this. I will see you guys later. Shake's going up. Flyers fly.